What is going on, people, and welcome back to another podcast. I am your host, JONETH PIPTNE, and I will be discussing the Chicago Bears, just reevaluating a few things, especially the win mark in the prediction area, and also discussing what Justin Fields brings to the table and what can he do for our Chicago Bears indeed, and basically just having a full discussion, just nothing more than Chicago Bears and probably some more NFL news going forward. And of course, jumping things off, I've originally predicted that the Bears could win 10 to 11 games. And of course, just reevaluating everything and thinking about it, especially if Andy Dalton was to start the entire season. The ceiling for the Bears could possibly top out at 9 victories if he was managed to start the entire season and at least finish with 6 victories. But I'm pretty sure Matt Nagy will not allow that to happen because, of course, his job is on the line and he can't afford to miss this because if so, of course, he will be fired. We all know that Ryan Pace has saved his job, so we know he's coming back from the picks and the moves he made this off season. So with that coming in, I would say, yeah, the Bears will win 9 games. Now, once again, I would not be surprised if the Bears was able to pull off 10 victories this season, but 9 games max seems to be the top ceiling for the Bears unless Justin Fields just managed to outperform Andy Dalton all the way throughout the preseason, also training camp, and just basically steals the starting job from Andy Dalton and just leave him in the dust. But I do know one thing that Justin Fields will start off throwing a lot of interceptions because one of the main things that stuck out for me in college that he loves to fit the ball in tight spots and he loves to throw the ball deep and he was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in college with threading the needle and also throwing the ball deep, and sometimes the ball hang in the air a little bit too long and those NFL players are just that half a step faster than those college players, sometimes 2 step faster, and they will be able to come up with those interceptions coming across. And I believe that if Justin Fields come in and play, he will have a high interception rate his first season, but with him also being very accurate downfield and also still threading the needle, in contrast of the bad, of course, you have the good where he comes in and he just plays lights out and throw maybe 3 or 4 touchdowns in the game. And of course, probably end up probably if he starts the entire season somewhere like 26 touchdowns, maybe 15 interceptions. That's not too much to ask. You know, that's pretty decent for a rookie quarterback. And I'm pretty sure he's probably going to run for 500 plus yards. So yeah, that's a lot to ask for from a rookie, but that's pretty decent numbers. It's not too outlandish, especially with a rookie at his caliber and skill. So, and plus, he does have a lot of the intangibles that also, of course, Mitchell Trubisky had, great leadership, be able to lead his team to victory. We saw that in college in Ohio State, in the 6 games they was able to play, they dominated. And when a lot of his team was gone from COVID-19, he was still able to win a lot of games against Clemson and Northwestern and a whole bunch of other teams. So we know that he can play with limited talent, but of course this is the NFL, so hopefully that does translate to the next level and he can propel this offense, which is a lot more talented than it was last year, and propel them basically to the next level. And of course, with all the new additions to the offense through draft picks and free agency, like Daz Newman, wide receiver, have Godwin coming in, also Damian Williams coming in, Tariq Cohen coming back from his injury. Allen Robinson returning. If we don't have him next year, at least we have him returning this year. And hopefully be able to convince him to come back and they able to pay him that money. And also, of course, the most important of all, we possibly have our franchise quarterback in Justin Fields. So hopefully, if everything can pan out, this can be a very successful season for the Bears and they can shock a lot of people and do very much like they did in 2018. Now, of course, we don't have that star-studded cornerback like we had that year with Kyle Fuller, who is now with the Denver Broncos. But we do still have Jalen Johnson, and hopefully he can take a step forward, even more than he did last year. He had a lot of pass breakups, but late in the season couldn't stay healthy. Hopefully, he can stay healthy the whole season and turn some of those pass breakups into interceptions, and that will make things a lot better. Also, with the team not having a lot of turnovers last year, so that can also add into the turnover differential for our Chicago Bears. And we basically just need the other cornerback, Trufant, to be just serviceable enough. I already know that he is a very physical cornerback, so hopefully his physicality can translate into basically knocking the receiver off his route and being able to basically cause some pass breakups and some interceptions. But I do know he is liable to get burnt a lot in pass coverage, so hopefully that can change this season and the safeties can be over the top with Eddie Jackson and also Tashawn Gibson coming back as well. And of course, I know that the front seven is going to improve, of course, with some draft picks with them bringing in, and also with Eddie Goldman returning this season to help out with our offensive line. He was much needed last year, and it was a lot of gaping holes, especially late in the season. And I believe that if Eddie Goldman was there, he would have been able to plug up a lot of that mess that was caused. And once again, the Bears would have allowed less than 100 yards rushing in the season, much like they did in 2019 and before that. I believe 2018 and 2017, even before that, during the time when they was a top 10 defense for 3 consecutive seasons. So also, I'm pretty sure the front seven is going to be fine. The biggest questions for the Chicago Bears team is the offensive line. How much have they improved? Of course, we got rid of we got rid of the biggest weaknesses. What I say we like I did it. What the Chicago Bears got rid of the biggest weaknesses on the offensive line, and that was the two offensive tackles. Of course, getting rid of Bobby Massey early in the offseason, and just a few weeks ago, Speed Bump Charles Leno Jr. was, of course, released as well, and then bringing in Tevin Jenkins and throughout the draft, and also uh, Larry Borum also in the draft as well. But I'm pretty sure Jenkins will start probably at left tackle and also have someone that they also signed in the offseason, re-signed in the offseason, of Fetty, and have him start at the right tackle until Larry Borum gets a little more acclimated to the NFL. Now, those two weaknesses are taken care of, but will the two guards and the center position be able to hold up? Mustaford, the center, did show a lot of promise last year, uh, in pass and run blocking. But it seems like he is a lot more better run blocker than pass blocker because in terms of being a pass blocker, he did get just run over a lot, especially early in the season when once he first starting. But I guess it just took him a little time to get used to playing the top level players, the elite of the elite every week. And he did play a lot better, but I still see plenty of times where he was just either getting knocked back just quickly or just ended up on his ass, which is not a good look for the offensive lineman, especially your center. So that means that if a lot of pressure is coming up through the middle, that allows the other defensive players, especially the defensive ends or outside linebackers, depending on which scheme the team up that you are playing, allow them to get to the quarterback and also destroy the play, whether it's a run or a pass. If you're getting pressure up the middle, the play is usually dead. Now, also, the next target of concern is the guard positions. Now, of course, we do have James Daniels and Cody Whitehair. Cody Whitehair, of course, can play guard or center, and a few times he just looked disinterested at times throughout the season. It's like if they didn't get going right away, he'd just have lost interest, and it just seemed like he just wouldn't have none for the rest of the game, and just allow constant pressure almost instantly. Now James Daniels, on the other hand, he was playing fairly well last year, played fairly well even his rookie year and also in 2019. So he did play fairly well, but we do know that he can improve. But at one point before the injury, he was the Bears' best offensive lineman. So I'm pretty sure, hopefully, if he comes back from that injury without any tweaks, he should be at least back to the way he was, and then throughout the season progress to even greater heights. So hopefully, if with those new players being filled in and also the offensive line being shuffled and actually able to stay with this lineup and without having to reshuffle anybody around, then this offensive line can be fairly decent. I'm not going to say elite because, of course, that's just no, it's not going to happen. It probably can be an elite run offense because they do have excellent run blockers in the interior. We're gonna find out about the exterior offensive linemen this season, especially with Tevin Jenkins, and of course seeing if Hafeti is going to improve his technique and not allow so many defensive ends and outside linebackers to toss him the side to cause a run in the backfield. So we're just going to see how that is definitely going to turn out, and hopefully those things turn out. The Bears can at least have one of the best run offensive lines in the league, and at least try to have an average passing pass blocking offense. So if those things can work out, that can also help the quarterback, and it doesn't matter whether if it's Andy Dalton or, of course, Justin Fields. So hopefully that can work out, and then of course with passing, pass blocking, holding up, that allows the quarterback to feed the ball to Allen Robinson, Darnell Mooney, Godwin, of course, Anthony Miller, and a few other additions that was added to the team throughout free agency and of course the NFL draft. And even though indeed we do have those questions on the offense, I do have one small question on the defense, and that's the run defense. But of course, that has been answered with Eddie Goldman, but also the pass rush. It wasn't a huge pass rush last year. Sometimes they would be able to get there and cause pressure to the quarterback to take things off, but it wasn't a lot of sacks. Of course, Khalil Mack was Khalil Mack, and a lot of holding calls that wasn't called. Of course, that could have negated a lot of stuff that would have happened against the Bears, but it didn't happen. Woulda, coulda, shoulda. But hopefully, if they get enough pass rush, they can free up Khalil Mack even more and make that defense even more dangerous. Of course, we're having Robert Quinn returning, and this time coming back 100% healthy, like I've said multiple times before. Also having Khalil Mack, who also is coming back 100% healthy, who had a lot of nagging injuries as well. Of course, with Akeem Hicks, Eddie Goldman, and of course also um, Bio Nichols. So hopefully, with the unit being 100% strong, and of course missing a few key players, Roy Robertson Harrison no longer being here, also Brent Urban no longer being here, we still have a few other players that came in through free agency and also through the draft. So hopefully that shakes out with our team, and hopefully this season can be even better than it was in 2019 and in 2020, and be just a lot more exciting like it was in 2018. And this is Jonah Piptne once again, people, to bringing it back to you with another podcast. All right, people. Peace out and go Chicago Bears.
Hey, I really came back on my shit, my bands be mobile, I'm calling them left, my shit be fresh and I'm calling it fresh. Okay. So bring that